Hello, welcome to a late night edition of Hotline Live with Record Sport. My name is Daniel Conn. Joining me in his pyjamas tonight is the one and only Keith Jackson.
How dare you? It's a shout.
It's hard to tell the difference sometimes. How's it going?
Yeah, all right. I enjoyed that game. I really
was a
enjoyed
good game,
that game. It was a good game of football, and I wonder, obviously, Celtic fans watching in just now, well, I think they'll be previewing a little bit of the Rangers game as well for tomorrow night, Daniel. But I wonder, because we have spoken about this lack of appetite from the Celtic supporters for this competition, I just wonder what that 90 minutes done, if anything, to maybe change the mindset a little bit. I thoroughly enjoyed that as a game of football. Really interesting the way Celtic went about it. I think you've got to bear in mind, Daniel, that's a team that has only failed to score once in its last 70 games.
Wow.
So I think Celtic were right to go about it in the manner they did. I was wondering, I wrote down my notepad before kickoff, a couple of things. Yang, question mark. Because obviously he was coming in. I wanted to see what he contributed tonight. But also, I put pragmatism, question mark. Because we saw, and I thought Celtic grew into the Champions League. I said, I think on the night, I think it was on the night, Atalanta away, after what had happened at Dortmund the previous match, I felt it was a coming of age performance from Celtic. I think that they learnt so much from Dortmund. Terrible night, but I think it was a big learning night for Brendan Rodgers. And I was very interested to see if he went back to, thinking, well, this isn't the Champions League. This is the Europa League. We can just go and play our game and impose our style on the opposition. So that's what I was interested to see in the first half. And I thought, lessons learned. I think Celtic were careful in what they did. I think they tried to stay compact. I was really interested in the position of Kieran Tierney. Mm-hmm. And that was a big kind of factor in the match. I thought Tierney played very similar to the way that Greg Taylor did in that first half. And that he wasn't getting out wide and screaming for the ball. He was actually tucking in, coming in and quite inverted. People said he couldn't do that. And that would be a big change of style. But I thought it was really evident in the first half the amount of times you saw Kearney just tucking in, playing where Greg Taylor did as a kind of a double kind of anchor for Celtic in there alongside Callum McGregor. And I was interested to see, I wonder if they'll flick the switch. I think they did a little bit in the second half. I think Celtic went after the game a little bit more, but I think it was really important. If you go away to a place like that and you lose an early goal, it can become a long night. And I think Celtic got their tactics spot on and could have come away with a win tonight. But I think, as I said last night, Daniel, in this competition, if you can take a point away from home and win your home games, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You should get through this extended sort of group stage. And we also said last night, Daniel, you sign for a point right away. If you can get your campaign up and running with a point away from home, a difficult away venue like that one, I think that's a job well done by Celtic. There were some scary moments in it, but also there were some moments in that second half where Celtic could have got themselves, I know they got in front, but they could have got back in front. They could have extended the lead. I think all in all, I think Celtic can play better. I'm still worried about the imbalance of the squad a little bit. I don't think they're as strong as they were this time last year. But that's an opening night that I think Brendan Rodgers can be fairly satisfied with in terms of what he would be looking to achieve in this section, and that's them up and running. So, you take a point away from home all day long.
Aye, definitely. And we've already got comments coming in. If you want to get involved, let us know what you think of Celtic's 1-1 draw in Belgrade. In the comments, Thomas says, I would happily take this result before the game. Mark says, a good result, average performance. Stephen says, nice draw for Celtic. He says, nice draw for Celtic. They'll feel like Champions League winners now. Like you say, Keith, I mean, look, the majority of Celtic fans, I imagine, would have taken the draw beforehand, and they almost got a win as well,
Yeah, well, look, I have to be honest. When it gets to half time, you're thinking, if Celtic were to go behind in this game, I'm not seeing enough from them in the final third to make me think that there's a goal in this for Celtic unless they kind of start throwing the kitchen sink at it, and that means taking big risks at the back. There was 2 chances for Celtic really in that first half. 2 Nygren free kicks, 2 Cameron Carter-Vickers headers. Both they could have probably done better with. Especially the second one, he's got to hit the target with it. But at Celtic going in 1-0 up at the break, I think you'd be asking for a bit much from the way that first half went. It wasn't great from Celtic in terms of they weren't offering a lot going forward. But I do think that tactically that would have been the plan. That, you know, let's stay in this. Don't give away anything early. Be compact. Don't throw bodies forward. I was really interested to see the setup in midfield. And both Nygren and Hatate were a good 20 yards further forward than Callum McGregor. But I think that's why it was important. Lessons learned from previous campaign that Kieran Tierney, both the fullbacks, you know, that game in Dortmund, the 2 fullbacks were bombing on. The 2 other centre midfielders are playing 20 yards in front of Callum McGregor. It basically left Callum McGregor and 2 centre halves, and Dortmund were swarming all over that. So I think that's good. It shows an improvement. It shows a bit of growth and a wee bit more streetwise attitude to these European games. But I did think Celtic, you know, looked much more dangerous in the second half. Obviously carved out 2 or 3 chances in quick succession, I think in 2 or 3 minutes. I think the Iheanacho substitution made a big difference. And I think if you look throughout the team, I think a lot of positives. And I'm not sure that, you know, Celtic fans went into this game with a lot of excitement, obviously. But when you look at the positives, Schmeichel's save from Duarte that he touches onto the bar in the first half, sensational. That's a world-class save from your goalkeeper. Kobe Donovan at right back, absolutely outstanding young man.
Fantastic tonight, I thought.
At 19 of years of age, to go and play, and he showed sort of an old head on young shoulders, really composed, didn't look rattled, won his physical battles, really good in the ball. And then as the second half went on, I thought his link up with James Forrest was really good. So he's a massive plus. Scales, I thought, was outstanding. Carter Vickers grew into it and was a colossus later on in the second half when all sorts were coming into Celtic's penalty box. I thought I'm interested with Kieran Tierney because I think that he was really disciplined in what he did tonight, and I think it was good for the team. Although it's maybe not the Kieran Tierney you come to expect down the years in terms of driving forward and causing problems. But I thought he was really disciplined, and I thought he picked his moments. He had to pick and choose when to go forward, and I thought he did that to good effect. Only did it a couple of times in the first half, maybe a couple more times in the second. But every time he did do it, he was causing problems. The cutback in the second half for Nygren.
Oh, it was a brilliant cutback.
It was superb. But I think he was really disciplined, Kieran Tierney. And I think that was probably what Brendan Rodgers was asking of him. So I think that's positive. Rio Hatate, not a positive. I thought Callum McGregor would probably have liked to have done a lot more on the ball, but I thought his influence in the middle of the pitch, his reading of it, his ability to know where the ball's going to go and where he has to be to break things down and to you know, just keep it ticking over for Celtic. I thought he was immense. Nygren, that was one of his best games in a while. I thought he was really effective. So I mean, big positives. Tanukte, that was not a great one in terms of so excited after his first couple of games. He didn't really influence the game at all, I didn't think, tonight in either half. And obviously Maeda's a concern. Because I can't remember, I'm going to use a word that I can't ever remember using with a Dyson Maeda performance, and that word is lazy, Daniel. He looked lazy to me tonight.
Well, on that, Keith, I mean, tons of... Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in there, sorry. Plenty of positives for Celtic, obviously, lots of them, but Dyson Maeda and Rio Hatate are the 2 in the comments that are getting it quite tight. Let me run through a few of them for you. Marzuno says Maeda better get used to playing in the right wing for the next few months. Davey says Hatate's an embarrassment. His first 4 passes gave the ball away. A waste of a jersey of late. Big job for Rodgers now. What to do with Maeda? Martin says the team looks tired. We desperately need reinforcements. Peg leg Lonergan says Hatate.
That's the problem.
Exactly, aye. But aye, Maeda and Hatate, particularly Maeda, it doesn't look great for them at the minute. I mean, look, I might get stick for this. Neither of them look particularly interested to me.
That's a difficult thing to say, but or a difficult thing to judge. Sorry, not to say. But I'm concerned about Maeda in terms of what you've come to expect from him. You know what you're getting from Dyson Maeda, even if sometimes the quality's not there. You know the effort's always going to be there. You know he's going to cover every blade of grass. I think he shut down the goalkeeper early on in the first half, gave him a bit of a fright midway through the first half. It might have been. And that's what you're looking for from him. But I didn't see that dynamic edge to his game. I thought he was lazy, and I thought that's why he got caught offside on 2 or 3 occasions. That's what you don't expect from him. I think that's a worry, and I think that's why he got hooked at half time, to be perfectly honest with you, because Brendan Rodgers wouldn't expect that. The one thing you don't expect from Dyson Maeda is a lack of effort or application. And I felt he was guilty of that tonight. And that is a bit of a concern. Where's his head at? Brendan Rodgers has come out and said that he wanted to go as far back as February. If he feels that he's hard done by, if he feels that he's been done a bad turn by Celtic, and this is his response to it, I think that's something that manager will need to work on. Maybe it's just an off night, so I'm not going to come down like a ton of bricks on him, but he hasn't looked the same player. And even when he's not looked quite as effective, I think the effort's always there, the energy's always there, and I didn't see that tonight, and that would be a concern, I think.
Yeah.
But I think he can, he's entitled to the odd bad game. But I think he's had 1 or 2 too many, and then tonight wasn't just a poor game in terms of influence in it. I thought there were moments in the match where I'm thinking you should be trying a little bit harder than that. That's a concern for Celtic. You look at the bench, obviously Ian Atchell come on. I thought he did a really good job as a centre forward. Obviously, it's obvious to say he scores the goal, but I think
brilliant finish. I thought
brilliant finish, but I thought in terms of the way that he led the line, some of his movement, the runs that he was making for people, I thought it gave Celtic more of a platform, and that's probably why they found it easier to get up the pitch in the second half. So that's good. But after Ian Atchell, there was nothing else on the bench there for Celtic. I looked at that before kick-off and I thought, that's really light. So, that's not ideal. You could do at least 2 strikers sitting on your bench for these European games. And I think the boy that Celtic brought up from Fulham was
Osmond.
Yeah, he was scoring for the under-19s tonight, or the under-20s or whatever. The sort of Celtic B team, so he'd been left at home. So that's what I'm talking about. There are certainly imbalances about the squad, but let's not get away from the fact. I think everybody watching this right now, what I said before kick-off, you'll take a 1-1 draw in the opening game away to a place like that, Red Star Belgrade. Of course you would. Absolutely.
There's a wee bit of defence for Maeda in the comments as well. Mark says, love Dyson, but the centre-forward position must be the most difficult in the UK. The service is abysmal. Marzuno points out, remember Maeda had his bags packed and a lot of money on the table. He's only human. And GM says, he wanted out. The poor lad is held hostage. Don't know quite about that, but... Aye, look, I get that, but I agree with you, Keith. I thought it was a really weird performance. It's weird because he's still running, he's still trying, but it just looks like his heart's not fully in it.
I'm going to come back to it. And I don't like using it, but it's the word lazy, and I don't think I've ever used that word in connection with Dyson Maeda performance before, but that was the impression I got, and can't have been the only one, because Brendan Rodgers saw enough to take him off at half time. And listen, maybe there's an injury there. Maybe he's carrying something. Something wasn't right with that performance tonight. And whether it was an injury and Brendan Rodgers was protecting him by taking him off at half time, could be one explanation. The other explanation is he saw what I saw and it wasn't enough. And that's why he had to make that change at half time. And Celtic were all the better for that change.
Yeah, absolutely. In the comments, this one actually, Keith, I wanted to get your take on this. Pegleg says Bernardo when made a difference coming on, seriously underused. Donovan excellent. The reason why I bring it up is because obviously on the bench again tonight. I thought last season Bernardo was developing into a really important player for Celtic, but he can't get a game for love nor money now.
Well, Engels can't get a game, and Engels was starting before Bernardo last season. So Bernardo was one of these guys that if one of the three had to come out, Bernardo would be the first one on. Now it's Engels that's sitting on the bench. Bernardo's moved down a slot, hasn't he?
That's true.
And Engels come on tonight, did okay, battled away, looked up to speed, certainly looked physical. Yeah, look, he's got good options there. He's also got Luke McCowan, who I think's really unlucky. That he's even furthered. Well, is he? No, he's probably ahead of Bernardo.
Right? Probably ahead, I'd say.
And probably deservedly so, because I think every time Luke McCowan comes onto the pitch wearing a Celtic shirt, he looks like he's going to contribute something, whether it's a goal, an assist. I think of all the midfield players that aren't getting as much game time as he'd like, I think Luke McCowan, for me, probably deserves it a little bit more than Bernardo. But Bernardo's a good player. But clearly, Luke McCowan is probably ahead of him in the pecking order, probably because of what Brendan Rodgers seen in the training pitch. But again, Luke McCowan, I was listening to, it was Ian McCall who had Luke McCowan at air just a few nights ago on the radio, and he was saying that he played McCowan right-hand side of the three, and that's a problem position for Celtic in terms of they didn't with a winger. I don't think Luke McCowan's a sort of natural winger or a wide man, but I think he could fill a role out there. I'd like to see more involvement for him, but that's just me. I'm digressing and getting away from what we watched tonight. And as I keep coming back to it, Daniel, 1-1 in Belgrade, you take it all day long. You're up and running the group. It's not a brilliant start. I did say to you last night, I thought Celtic were capable of winning. I think we saw that in the second half tonight. They could quite easily come away with a win from the tie, and that was without them really getting up to full speed at any point in the match. But they were still capable of causing problems there. So, yeah, all in all, I think that's a satisfying night at the office for Brendan Rodgers, and plenty of positives to take out of it. And yet, plenty to improve on as well, probably.
You mentioned at the top of the show, Keith, that we're going to talk about Rangers. We've got a couple of clips from their press conference today we can play. But just before we move on from Celtic, I wanted to get your take on how equipped are Celtic to go into the latter stage of this competition. They were playing clips on TNT Sports of the run to Seville. Obviously, Johan Mialbi and Petrov were in the studio. But is it realistic for the Celtic team to look at this and go, we could really go to the quarters, semis, maybe even the final?
I'm worried about. I don't think the squad is properly balanced, Daniel. I'm worried there. As I said, if you're going to really do something at this level in Europe, I think you need more options in attack, and basically right across the front three.
Yeah,
I think Celtic are a bit lopsided because they've got loads of options on the left-hand side of the front three and not so many on the right. I thought James Forrest, as always, came off the bench and made an impact. He still looks. I said I would have started James Forrest tonight, and I stand by that because I think when he did come on the pitch, he was offering a lot more than Yang.
completely agree.
And for me, he's still Celtic's best option on that right-hand side. I can understand why that would be frustrating for Brendan Rodgers because he wanted the board to deliver much more than they did in that transfer window. But I think if you've got to assess, you accept that the window's closed, you look at what you've got. For me, James Forrest is still Celtic's best option on the right-hand side. And probably there'll be an element of you need to be careful with his workload. You can't ask him to play in every game, or can you? Because
may have to.
Seriously, I know that he came through a period in his career where he had trouble with injuries, but he's as fit as a fiddle. And every time I see James Forrest come onto the pitch, I think he's a difference maker. And I thought there were times towards the end of that second half where the Red Star defenders were looking at him going, what do you do with this guy? Because he just takes off.
Yeah.
And he is a guy who is prepared to take responsibility. Give me the ball and I'll take a run at somebody. I'll cause problems. I'll create something. Yang, I think, is happier to play in the periphery of a game. Whereas James Forrest, the chips are down. If Celtic needs somebody to do something, he's the one guy or one of the guys you can hang your hat on. He'll say, give me the ball. Let me have a run at this guy. And he's just a really good. That's why he's been at the club for as long as he has. That's why Celtic have signed so many guys for his position, and that's why they're all gone and he's still there.
Yeah. In the comments, Rambo says, just happy with a decent point away. Remember, they are 7 out of 7 in the league and just got the team 7-1 last week. Davey says, unless Celtic bring in a few marquee signings in January, there won't be any progress. And JM says, Celtic will find out there's no mugs in the Europa. Rangers made it look easy in previous seasons, but under Russell Martin, God help us. And Keith, that brings us to Rangers. They're playing against Genk at Ibrox tomorrow night. Shall we hear what the Rangers camp had to say today?
Yeah, go on then.
Let's see what they said.
You've already seen in the European games this season the importance of Ibrox when it's noisy, when it's loud, the power it can give you. So a lot of empty seats at the weekend. There's suggestions there's still a lot of seats to be sold. How important is it for you that the fans do turn up and do create the atmosphere that can drive the team on?
Yeah, I think the Panathinaikos game and the Pilsen game have been brilliant. The atmosphere in them two games was immense. I thought they were great on Saturday after obviously the start of the game and stuff, and I thought they were brilliant by the end. So, we just have to keep winning football matches and putting performances. I think it's not surprising the cup game wasn't full up. So, it is what it is. But yeah, we can't ask any more from the fans. And now they've been actually inside the stadium and got behind the team when we're playing in the way that we want to play in, really. So, I hope the ones that are there, they see a performance that is improved from Saturday. And like I said, I hope we can win the game and build some momentum.
Just one each guy so we can get over it. We've seen over the last few seasons what's possible for Rangers in this competition. Is that something that really excites you, the potential that there is ahead of you?
Yeah, I think what excites me is the potential of this group. Now that we have the group settled down and the windows shut, we have a group we're really happy with, the potential in the team, the potential to have some amazing moments at this club and nights that you can't replicate anywhere else. And also the potential to win trophies. And when we're in any competition, we'll try and do our very best to win that. So I think, I'm not saying we're going to win this competition, but we're in it, we're going to attack it, and we've got to try and enjoy as much as we can. We've been it's an exciting group. It's difficult, it's some big games, some tough opposition, but you wouldn't expect anything else. But we're looking forward to it. I think the guys that have been here and experienced some good moments in European football, they felt it already. So I think they can definitely help the other players recognise what's at stake and what can be achieved.
Crazy couple of weeks. I suppose it's been not so much crazier just because of events around the club, protests, a lot of anger at the way things have gone this season. How difficult was that for you to step into? You were trying to find your feet at a new club and you've got all this sort of stuff going on around the place.
It's something that I try not to put too much focus to. Clubs like Rangers, there's an expectation to win, and the way I view it is that extra pressure that we're getting from outside and maybe the chaos that I'm stepping into. It's I view it as a privilege, and I view it as a challenge to come here and try and help the situation. So for me, visually, I don't think it impacted me negatively, and I try to look at the positives in the situation.
Yeah, at clubs like Rangers and Celtic, there's an expectancy to win domestically. From a European point of view, though, where should Rangers' ambitions be this year?
It's a tough question to ask. It's tough to answer. I think first and foremost, from what I've gathered from the club and the people around the club, is that they want to see a team that's ready to give their all, performance wise, and I think that's what you can expect from us tomorrow in a European match, and then after the result will take care of itself. But I think from the team's perspective, we need to go out there, give 110% and do everything we can to win, and especially
the Rangers camp there, Keith. I think, is it just a case now that if Russell Martin's going to save his Rangers job, doesn't matter what the game is, doesn't matter the competition, he just has to win?
Yeah, and he could do avoiding embarrassing defeats.
That always helps.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect from this game tomorrow night, because Genk have kind of struggled. They've kind of got off to a really sluggish start in their own domestic campaign this year. But, you know, they are an experienced European side. You'd think they'll be an awkward customer for Rangers. But, you know, Rangers' biggest problem right now is Rangers. And, you know, how they adapt, and, you know, are the players courageous enough to come out of their shells? Are they struggling with the environment that they're in? Is the shirt too heavy for a few of them? And you're going to get answers over the course of the next few weeks. You'll get some answers tomorrow night. But again, you know, they'll be going into this game. From the last I heard yesterday, the day before, sales in terms of tickets not looking particularly healthy. So you wonder what sort of atmosphere is going to be inside Ibrox. I think one of the key ingredients for what Rangers have enjoyed about Thursday nights in this competition has been the full houses, the electric atmosphere, you know, that feeling that they're almost a goal up in the tie, just by the fact that, you know, they've got 50,000 people behind them.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be the case. I think if Rangers are going to get some momentum going this season at all, they're going to have to build it themselves, because the fans are fed up already. The fans are beyond fed up. So in order for them to reconnect or re-engage with their team, they're going to need to, the onus falls on Russell Martin and the players to put something on that gives them that reason to believe that there could be something there, regardless of how bad things have looked over the first few weeks of the season. Now, the question is, have these players got the character? Has Russell Martin got the character? Well, we're going to have to find out, but it will need to be on a game-by-game basis from here on in. He's certainly, I'll give him this. Russell Martin, you know, I heard, I don't know how much I believe that, but I heard him saying that he's actually quite not enjoying the experience just now, but I can't remember exactly what word they used. But just saying that it gives him an opportunity for growth to come through this, if he can get through this bad time. Two things about it. One, interesting that, you know, even say that you're taking something out of a period like this, that's obviously trying to spin the positive. But if he's telling the truth, that's interesting. The second thing is, the way he was speaking kind of lends more weight to the belief that he's been told no plug is going to get pulled here. You're in for the longer haul. There's going to be no knee-jerk reaction. I think the board have made a decision on this as much as they can, because everything will go by a game-by-game basis. At the end of the day, it usually does. But I think there is a determination there not to bow to the demands of the supporters on one front, but secondly, and probably more importantly, I think there's a sort of a belief that Rangers have chopped and changed and chopped and changed and sacked and, you know, hired over and over again over this last period, and they've not been able to build anything because of that. Now, I agree with that in principle. I think what I would say, you need to make sure, if you're going to throw your weight behind somebody, make sure you're throwing your weight behind the right man.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that was, you know, I'm not sure there's anything. Well, I am sure there is nothing in Russell Martin's CV up to this point that tells you, yeah, he's the guy to do that. But they've made their choice. It looks like they're going to lie in their bed. Or they've made their bed and they're going to lie in it. But I add the caveat that if things get too much worse, then they'll eventually be left in a situation where they've got no choice. It would really help Russell Martin's cause if he could put out a team tomorrow night which puts on a competent European performance and takes a result. It doesn't need to be, you know, tiki-taka. It doesn't need to be world-beating stuff. He just needs to put on a solid performance, have players organised, playing in their best positions, give yourself a chance of winning the game. And if Rangers can get off, and that's what I'm saying, and I'll repeat it again about this tournament, absolutely great start for Celtic in terms of, if you can get a point on the road and you win your home games, you're going to be fine in this tournament. You should be good for at least a playoff spot to get into the last 16. Rangers showed last season you can achieve better than that and get straight there, because the points are there to be taken. And this ordinarily shouldn't frighten Rangers. This should be a game they should go into at home thinking, yep, we can get off to a flyer here. The unpredictability comes from the fact that the performances have been so poor, and from the fact that the environment isn't going to be the typical Ibrox on a Thursday night atmosphere that they've enjoyed and they've kind of flourished in. So a lot to consider tomorrow night. I'm not sure what you're going to get. But if Rangers can find a way of winning that game, again, a bit more breathing space for Russell Martin. But most importantly, from a Scotland perspective, we need coefficient points. So that's why there is an onus on Celtic and Rangers. When they get home games in this competition, the more they can win, the better for everybody. And it'd certainly be, as I said, it will certainly give Russell Martin a bit of breathing space if he can find a way to get 3 points on the board tomorrow night.
Absolutely. Before we wrap up, very quickly, some comments on the game tomorrow night. Rambo says Genk are terrible this season. Rangers should destroy them. Scott though says Genk are much better than that was from Rambo.
Has Rambo seen Rangers yet?
I mean, Scott in the next comment says Genk are much better than results so far. Tough game for Rangers. GM's confidence says 5-1 to Rangers, although there's a couple of people, Scott again, pointing out that Livingston's the bigger game for me, and GM as well. I'm more worried about Livy away than Genk. It is a huge few days for Russell Martin.
5-1 for Rangers was one of the shouts there.
That was GM.
I'm not sure that Rangers have had 5 shots in goal in the last 2 or 4 days.
I think that literally might be true.
Look, I'm being a little bit facetious. Russell Martin is a manager with a whole load of work to do. It does appear, as I said previously, Daniel, that he came in with these ideas and a load of new signings, 13 new arrivals, and they were all getting shoehorned into the side. And there seemed to be this sort of philosophy, right? Everybody that was here can step to the side. Here come Manu guys. Well, game by game, defeat by defeat, or draw after draw, these guys are falling back by the wayside, and the sort of tried and tested are getting filtered back into that team. And that's probably no bad thing in terms of tomorrow night, because if it is your Raskins, your Diomandis, your Souters, your Taverniers, your Butlins, these guys have gone the course and distance in this competition. They know what's required. And again, it comes back to the fact that the guys that were brought in to replace them look like downgrades. So it makes perfect sense. And it's probably the first bit of clear thinking there's been in a while to say, right, do you know what? These guys really aren't ready. So, let Nico Raskin play where Nico Raskin wants to play. Let the guys play in the positions that they're familiar with. Try and get some results and buy everybody a bit of breathing space.
Last thing, Keith, predictions. How do you think? I know you've said you don't know what to expect tomorrow night, but have you got a score in mind that you think it will go? Because this is the last chance we'll get to chat before.
I even tipped it up. I tipped an Aberdeen one at Tannadice, which I knew I was going against all my kind of instincts and doing that. I just thought surely at some point Aberdeen have got to do something, but in fact all it did was get worse. I think I tipped Falkirk to beat Hibs. Nearly happened. Almost happened, but didn't. I tipped Celtic to win tonight. Could have happened. So the bad news for Rangers is I'm going to tip a Rangers home win simply on the basis that they really need it. They really need it. And Genk aren't getting off. I haven't got off to a great start domestically this season, as I mentioned. So if Rangers are going to do anything in this group, you would put a big ring round this particular fixture and say this is one you're going to have to win if you do have realistic prospects of trying to get through. So I'll go 2-1 Rangers.
Well, whatever the score, we'll be back to pour over all the action tomorrow night in another late night edition of Hotline Live. We'll be back at 10 p.m. tomorrow after full time. But for now, Keith, night.
Night, Daniel. Thanks everybody for staying up.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for watching.
All again tomorrow.
Hope you can join us tomorrow. Cheers.